killers are not uniquely American. Across the world, murderers commit crimes just as chilling. And one of the UK's most notorious murderers is Steve Wright.
I think for this killer, this is somebody who does not like women.
If you are out at night, you are putting yourself in danger.
Over 10 days in 2006, a serial killer tormented Britain's streets, leaving 5 women dead.
All of them prostitutes, and all dumped in the secluded suburbs of Ipswich.
The anxiety level in that community is going to be at record levels.
So who was this terrifying killer, known as the Suffolk Strangler? And how did news of his true identity impact the oblivious family who'd been living alongside him?
It's with you every day of your life. I will never know the truth of any of it.
My name is Beth Karras, and this is Living with a Serial Killer. November 15th, 2006. Ipswich, Suffolk, 75 miles northeast of London. Police in this rural town have received a missing persons report. Gemma Adams, a 25-year-old, was last seen in the city center at 1 a.m. the previous night and has not returned home.
We deal with lots of missing people, requests for help from the police, but this one seemed to have a bit more about it. The police were incredibly worried about her.
Gemma's missing persons report is immediately flagged as high risk. But what made police so quick to pick up on this particular case?
In the case of Gemma Adams, she is a known prostitute in the area. We know that that's a high-risk lifestyle.
But what really concerned investigators was the familiarity of what they were hearing. Gemma was the second sex worker reported missing in the space of just 2 weeks.
One person disappearing may not raise eyebrows, but when you have 2 sex workers who disappear in the space of 2 weeks in a city like Ipswich, it's automatic cause for concern.
15 days earlier, 19-year-old Tanya Nickel had also disappeared from the very same area of town.
For Tanya, her sex work was a necessity to feed her addiction to drugs. But she was turning over a new leaf and ready for a new lease on life. And so her disappearance was really uncharacteristic.
I was a community police officer at the time. I had quite a good relationship with many of the women on the street. This was sex workers that I knew, and my fear for their safety was paramount.
Can investigators establish what has happened to these girls? Are their disappearances simply coincidental? Or is there reason to suspect a connection?
Obviously, the focus of the investigation now is going to lead us to the red light district where the 2 girls worked. They're going to need to go in and canvass that area for any potential witnesses.
In recent years, prostitutes have begun operating in more residential areas of the city, including one particular street, London Road. Arriving in London Road at the same time police began surveilling the street was Jamie Goodman, who had come to Ipswich to spend time with his mother, Pam.
I came back to Ipswich in 2006 to visit my mother. I was only staying here for a few weeks. I knew she wasn't happy. I went home to find out what had happened, what had gone wrong. I just wanted to make sure she was okay.
At that time, Jamie's mother, Pam, was struggling in an unhappy relationship with her boyfriend, Steve Wright. And Jamie was becoming increasingly concerned about his mother's choice of partner.
I didn't like the guy. I would talk to him, he wouldn't talk to me back. He didn't know what was going on in his mind. My mum's a very kind person. She's almost, a people pleaser. She'll befriend anybody, even the wrong people.
I hadn't seen Jamie for quite a few weeks. He was working away, and he came back. It was lovely having him back, because Steve and I, we were not communicating at all. And I did speak to Jamie about it, and Jamie said, I know you're unhappy, I can see you're unhappy. Do something about it.
Well, I imagine that for Jamie to go into that home and to see so much unhappiness must have been quite disturbing, quite upsetting. So it must have raised quite a lot of red flags for him to go back to his home and feel that things weren't right, they weren't okay.
I wanted to wrap my mother up in cotton wool and just get her away from him. He wasn't violent, as in physically violent. It was more sort of mind games, playing mind games, trying to control. He was controlling because she would work 7 p.m. till 10 in the morning, the call centre. She'd go home to bed, he would be knocking her out of bed to make him something to eat because he couldn't be bothered to cook for himself. And he just tried to... mental bullying, really. Just a lot of mental bullying.
Steve wanted Pam to provide. Your role is to look after me, to be my provider of clothes, of meals, of all things domestic.
It was women's job to look after their men, essentially. That was what Steve Wright believed.
I didn't know a lot about Steve at that time, apart from he was a bartender. The first things I found out, he was a gambler and he was stealing money out of the till at the pub, which caused problems. Because, my attitude, that's why he left my dad to go to that. I knew about his gambling addictions, I knew about his insecurities. He was very jealous of my relationship with my mother. My mother told me he'd threatened to say, if you ever leave me, I'll kill myself. So the alarm bells were ringing in my head. I said to her, look, you can do better than this guy. Be on your own for a while, find yourself.
Why would Pam choose to stay with a man who made her so unhappy?
It's easy sometimes to look into other people's relationships and judge that they're not good or that there's something wrong with them. But for Pam, she may have held on to a lot of hope that this was just a phase.
Pam insists her relationship with Steve hadn't always been this way. The couple first met working at a local bingo hall back in early 2000, when Pam was trapped in an unhappy marriage to Jamie's father.
With Steve, I felt comfortable with him. It was company, more company than I had for years, really. He was just a nice, quiet, kind guy.
Though others who worked with Steve found him unsettlingly quiet, he opened up to Pam.
He was a very private person, Steve. He was a very insecure person, I think. But he started to come out of himself. He told me loads and loads of things that he'd never spoken about before, 21. Steve didn't have a very good childhood at all. His mum left when he was 13. Steve's father drummed it into them she'd left because she didn't love the children. He was just a nice person. I never thought of him in any other way, but it slowly developed from there.
Over time, Pam and Steve became an item, and eventually, Pam decided to leave her 30-year marriage to be with him.
When I realised I did love him, it was amazing. I felt like I took 20 years off my life. It was just fantastic.
But slowly, the relationship deteriorated. By the time the couple moved to London Road in October 2006, Pam had started working night shifts, and the two barely spoke.
We were like ships in the night. When I got home after my night shift, Steve had gone to work. Even when we were together, we weren't.
Pam blames herself for the breakdown of the relationship. But could Pam and Steve's difficulties somehow be relevant to the ongoing search for two missing prostitutes right outside their new home's front door? Coming up.
Police divers searching the shallow brook found the naked body yesterday afternoon.
We're dealing with somebody who is killing female sex workers.
It was horrific. I think the whole of Ipswich and Suffolk were holding their breath.
I was constantly looking over my shoulder. I was terrified.
Police in the British town of Ipswich are working to find 19-year-old Tanya Nicol and 25-year-old Gemma Adams, two missing sex workers who have not been seen for almost 4 weeks. Then, on December 2nd, 2006, police make a gruesome discovery in a waterway on the outskirts of the town.
Police divers searching the shallow brook found the naked body yesterday afternoon.
Could this body belong to one of the two missing sex workers? Was this missing persons case about to become a homicide? Police immediately attempt to recover evidence from the scene. But with the body being recovered from fast-flowing water, is there any other evidence there for them to collect?
For the police, this presents a tremendous challenge because not only is the body naked, so there's no telltale clues or trace evidence, but it's been placed in water. So virtually all of the evidence has been washed away.
But is there sufficient evidence that this is one of the women police have been searching for?
The first thing that they notice, of course, is the blonde hair. Now, that's something that's consistent with what we know Gemma had.
The lead investigator for her case went to the scene and fairly quickly was confident that this was Gemma's body.
Despite being submerged, the body is identified as Gemma Adams, and investigators are quick to rule out the possibility of this being any sort of accident.
We knew very quickly that this was likely to be a murder, certainly a suspicious death.
Gemma's body is discovered in a river in a rural area there. She is naked. We know that she didn't get there on her own.
With the crime scene suggesting Gemma was murdered, could the second missing sex worker, Tanya Nicol, also be a victim? Or is there still a chance police could find her alive?
It put a completely different complexion on it in terms of scale and urgency and the need to resolve this as quickly as possible.
Police waste no time attempting to uncover any potential lead in their hunt for Tanya Nicol.
We conducted a lot of inquiries. It was very much concentrated on around the areas that Tanya and Gemma had gone missing to see what we could find, seeing if we've got CCTV in the area which will allow us to pinpoint a person at a particular place.
Eventually, investigators find a potential lead.
We found some grainy material which appeared to show Tanya getting into a car, which of course was significant for us.
Could police have uncovered footage of Tanya Nicol's last known pickup? Could the driver's identity provide a witness or even a possible suspect? Devastatingly, the crucial images only last a few seconds.
The CCTV camera very quickly pans away from that incident in terms of the investigation, just at the wrong time.
Because the camera turns away at the moment Tanya approaches the car, the driver's face is never revealed. And despite painstaking analysis, investigators are also unable to identify the car itself. For now, it appears they've hit a brick wall in their search for Tanya Nicol. As friends and family mourn Gemma Adams, police return their focus to the location where her body was found.
So in the course of performing due diligence in the scene where Gemma's body is discovered, of course, we want to look for evidence. And part of that is going to be sending a dive team into the water to see if there may be something there that was disposed of that has something to do associated with Gemma. Now, in this particular case, what they find is horrific.
On December 8, 2006, the body of a second woman is discovered in the water. She is quickly identified as Tanya Nicol.
Police divers had been searching the shallow brook after Tanya's friend, 25-year-old Gemma Adams, was found days earlier 1 mile upstream. 19-year-old Tanya Nicol had either been strangled or smothered. Her body, too, was naked.
Tanya Nicol's body had been caught in a natural dam that had been created.
Tanya's body has been found 1.5 miles downstream from Gemma Adams's, and police are quick to rule out a coincidence.
These kinds of scenes don't happen in a vacuum. These are connected. It's no coincidence that Gemma's body is here at the river, and there's no coincidence that Tanya's body is also submerged in the river.
With the discovery of Tanya's body, reality hits home. Ipswich police are looking for a double murderer who is still at large on their streets. News of the discovery is soon being heard in homes across the region, including 79 London Road, where Jamie Goodman is watching television with his mother's partner, Steve Wright.
I was sat on the sofa with Steve next to me when my mum was at work, when there was a news flash about one of the girls.
The red light district of Ipswich gripped with fear.
But the one thing Jamie remembers is Steve's strangely impassive reaction to the shocking news.
He just sat there silent. There was a strange atmosphere. I knew something wasn't quite right.
Ipswich, England, 2006. The rural town has been shaken by the recovery of the bodies of 2 women in a nearby waterway. The women, who were friends, were both local sex workers, and both were murdered. For investigators, everything about these deaths points to a deeply worrying possibility.
What we get are 2 victims that are remarkably similar in a lot of the basic attributes that the police will be looking at. And I think even at that fairly early stage, the police will have been wondering about the threat of a serial killer.
And within days, their worst fears are realized when Detective Henwood receives another call.
It was one of the few days that I managed to get off during that period, and I got a phone call. One minute I'm with my family, and the next minute I know that we've got a third body.
A third body is discovered on December 10th. Now, she's found in a rural area, not near the water. They're going to have to investigate and find out whether or not there is something to a connection between these murders.
Officers working the case identified the young woman as 24-year-old Annalee Alderton, another sex worker in Ipswich's red light district. Like Tanya Nichols and Gemma Adams, Annalee's body was naked and she had been strangled to death. But what conclusion should investigators draw from all these connections?
3 victims that are clearly linked tells us fairly unequivocally is that we're dealing with somebody who is killing female sex workers in particular. It's that tells me we're dealing with a serial killer.
That with a serial killer on the loose, the police operation is immediately massively scaled up.
Well, I just need to take some details from you. Okay.
Specialist officers from across the country are brought in to support Suffolk's local force, including Scotland Yard Head of Homicide, Commander David Johnston.
By the time I actually went to Suffolk, the discovery of the third body was beginning to really accelerate this inquiry, and no stone was left unturned in terms of bringing the resources to bear on this.
This is the biggest serial killer hunt for many years. The people of Ipswich live in fear of a killer.
Overnight, Ipswich becomes the center of a national media frenzy.
The media profile completely exploded.
Simply, it was a massive media response. The police headquarters was full of vans and satellite dishes and erected tents and floodlights. There was a huge interest in this.
The media soon dubbed the killer the Suffolk Strangler. But could this notoriety be exactly what the killer wants?
This killer is going to love it. Finally, he's getting the notoriety that he craves, and he is very likely going to go out and find another victim.
3 locations, 3 women's bodies, all of them prostitutes. The police will have to act quickly before a 4th victim is killed, assuming it hasn't happened already.
The anxiety level in that community is going to be at record levels.
There was a real sense of fear. There were businesses in the town who were making arrangements to make sure that any female workers were walked to their cars. Rape alarms were being given out in the town centre.
If you are out alone at night, you are putting yourself in danger at this time.
It's horrific. I think the whole of Ipswich and Suffolk are holding their breath.
The rapidity of the offences, the rate at which this individual is operating, is a cause for incredible concern.
I had no doubt that he would continue to kill. The need to catch this person was of the highest import.
But who is the Suffolk Strangler, and what is driving him to kill? Is this a man who has a regular relationship with prostitutes? A man who perhaps holds a negative perception of women, which has finally led him to violence?
For many murderers, sexual activity and violence are very closely associated.
I think for this killer, this is somebody who does not like women. This is somebody who has a very fixed idea of who women are and how they should behave. Women are there to serve my needs and for nothing else.
But as the search for Britain's most wanted man goes nationwide, should investigators keep their focus closer to home?
We just kept seeing this on the TV, and it was making you really nervous. You think you could be stood next to this person in a shop. You just don't know.
December 2006. The bodies of 3 women have been found murdered in Ipswich, England. In their search for the killer, police are pulling in resources from across the country. But the town remains gripped in terror. At 79 London Road, in the heart of Ipswich's red light district, Pam Wright and her son Jamie share in their community's fears.
Everyone was frightened at the time in that area. My mum was a bit worried, you know, obviously. Working, going to work late at night and finishing quite early in the morning. Yeah, we discussed it.
We just kept seeing this on the TV all the time, and it was making you really nervous. And I thought, oh no, this is serious now, you know, it's really serious. You sort of think you could be in a cafe or something, or you could be stood next to this person in a shop.
But despite Pam's concerns, her partner Steve appears disinterested in the events taking place, quite literally on their doorstep.
Steve was sat next to me. I said, why don't they get these girls off the streets? They're in danger. They just get into a stranger's car. Well, I don't know. And that was that. That's all that was said.
He just sat there silent, you know. Steve wasn't a talker. He didn't communicate. It was pretty impossible to communicate with a guy. Something didn't feel right, you know. There was a strange atmosphere.
Just as London Road becomes a national hotspot, Jamie Goodman prepares to leave. His stay with his mother has come to an end as he must travel to France to take a new job. But how does he feel about leaving his mother Pam alone with her partner Steve Wright?
I had to work, I had to take this job. I was in two minds about it. I was happy to get away from him, but I felt she was in danger. Not just in the relationship, but from what was happening in Ipswich.
On the day of Jamie's departure, Steve offers him a lift for the first part of his journey. But could this uncharacteristically generous act be a sign that Steve is keen to see Jamie leave?
Steve gave me a lift. It was about a 20-minute journey, but there was no conversation in the car. He seemed to be acting strange looking back on it. I thought something was amiss. Nothing was said. And that was the last time I saw him.
On the day after Jamie departs for France, December 12, 2006, police receive another call.
Our force control room had a call from a member of the public who had seen a body laying close to the roadside.
Officers are dispatched to the scene on the ground, while a police helicopter feeds images back to Central Control.
We had our force helicopter up and over the scene. You could clearly see the body of a naked female laying by the roadside.
But as Detective Superintendent Henwood assesses the scene by video link, something catches his eye.
I'd looked away from the screen for a moment and looked back at the screen and saw what I thought was the same body. But actually, I did a bit of a double take because it was a body laying in a different position. And it was very clear very quickly that this was a second body. My heart absolutely fell through the floor.
Another 2 women have been killed, bringing the total number of victims to 5.
Paula Clennell and Annette Nichols were victims 4 and 5, discovered 100 yards apart.
With no active leads, the situation is graver than ever. But could these 2 bodies provide investigators with a crucial opportunity to gather meaningful forensic evidence?
They were found on dry land. So we have the possibility now that we're going to derive much more in the way of forensic evidence because the body is on dry land.
We've got this forensic principle that's at play here. Every contact leaves a trace. Every offender who kills a victim leaves something of themselves at that scene.
And just as they had hoped, forensic officers soon announced they've retrieved a human DNA sample.
We learned that we had a DNA hit that was not just on one body, but was on a number of the bodies.
Could these DNA swabs be the lead investigators so desperately need? The swabs are submitted for analysis, but as police anxiously await the results, there's another development. On December 17, 2006, a local Ipswich resident gives an astounding and incriminating interview to a tabloid newspaper, admitting to a connection to all 5 victims.
He gave an interview to a national newspaper which discussed his relationship with the 5 women who'd been killed.
He openly proclaims, "I don't have alibis for all of the times that these girls were killed. In fact, I don't think I have alibis for any of the times these girls went missing."
Could it be that the Suffolk Strangler is now ready to confess? Ipswich, December 12, 2006. In just 10 days, 5 women have been brutally murdered in this rural English town. Police still have no idea who this serial killer is or where he is. The terrified town wants answers.
Suffolk were very much in the eye of a storm here. There was huge pressure at a national and international level. People wanted to know why this man couldn't be caught.
But then, on December 17, a possible suspect emerges in the most unlikely of ways. A local resident gives an astonishing and incriminating interview to a tabloid newspaper, admitting to a connection to all 5 of the Suffolk Strangler's victims.
He did really put himself center stage. He was literally placing himself right in the spotlight.
The man in question is Tom Stevens.
Tom Stevens makes it very clear that not only did he know all 5 of the victims, but he had sex with all 5 of the victims. Defying logic, he openly proclaims, "I don't have alibis for all of the times that these girls were killed. In fact, I don't think I have alibis for any of the times these girls went missing."
Investigators cannot ignore Tom Stevens' strange behavior, and they decide they have to act.
Tom Stevens was arrested yesterday. The 37-year-old has been in custody now for over 24 hours, being questioned by police.
At 79 London Road, Pam Wright, like the rest of the community, welcomes the news of the arrest.
I remember when Tom Stevens was arrested, it was such a relief.
Pam had heard the stories of Tom Stevens' suspicious behavior, including leaving a cryptic letter for the victims.
He was a strange person. He taped 5 flowers onto a lamppost at the end of my street, to the point of, "Gonna miss you, girls. Some I know better than others."
With a suspect in custody and no further deaths reported, residents and investigators can finally breathe a sigh of relief. But then the results of the DNA taken from the victims' bodies come in.
We have the results that come back from the DNA swab, but it ain't Tom Stevens. So now everybody does this collective, extreme exhale, oh my gosh, it ain't the right guy.
Police have their prime suspect wrong. With DNA evidence confirming Tom Stevens is little more than a troubled fantasist, he is released without charge.
There's been a lot of man-hours and a lot of effort spent on him, and there's really no positive result of it.
But if Stevens isn't the Suffolk Strangler, who is? The DNA profile has provided police with a match to another local man, a man living in the heart of Ipswich's red light district. The name on the record is Steve Wright, Pam Wright's partner. But police aren't going to rush into a second arrest without being certain that this is their man.
Yes, there was a sense of perhaps excitement in that we looked as though we had somebody who was really interesting. So we had to keep a very level head and keep very calm in respect of that.
With little known about their new suspect, investigators place Wright under surveillance and begin to investigate his past. The picture of Wright which emerges is of an unemployed barman and forklift truck driver with a chaotic personal life.
He had massive debts. He was married at various times and then he got divorced.
He was never able to build a family or form any kind of long-lasting commitment or connection with somebody.
The overriding psychological characteristic of Steve Wright is that this is a man who is a failure. He's a failure in all aspects of life, in his personal relationships, in his professional relationships. He's a non-achiever.
And investigators soon confirm something crucial. Wright had a long history of visiting prostitutes.
Steve Wright had been using sex workers for a very long time. This had been a feature of his life since he was a young man, since he was in the Merchant Navy.
And when local sex workers confirm that Wright is a regular client, well known to many of them, this becomes a connection police cannot ignore. Finally, detectives are convinced they have identified the Suffolk Strangler, and now they prepare to make their move. But how will his partner react when she finds out?
They told me about suspicion of the murder of 5 girls, and I just, no way. Couldn't believe it. I really could not believe it.
After the discovery of 5 murdered women in Ipswich in just 10 days, DNA recovered from 3 of the victims' bodies has been matched to the profile of Ipswich local Steve Wright. Having established that Wright also has a long history with prostitutes, police are finally ready to make their move. But little does Wright's partner, Pam, know that her life is about to be turned upside down.
I was at work. It was a Tuesday, the 19th of December, and I was ringing Steve to get him up for work, which I did every single morning, and he didn't answer the phone. There was just nothing. I was very concerned. I thought, I hope he's okay, I hope, you know. And then my manager came over and said that the police were there and they needed to speak to me. Never dreamed it would be anything to do with Steve, and they told me that he'd been arrested. And I just stood there speechless. Couldn't say a word. It didn't enter my head about these girls.
Initially, police won't tell Pam what Steve has been arrested for, but when she agrees to an interview, she's confronted with the truth.
They told me about suspicion of the murder of 5 girls, and I just, no way. Couldn't believe it. I really could not believe it. He wasn't a violent person. I said, I want to go home. You can't go home because we're searching your house. I wasn't told that they were taking all my clothes and everything I owned.
It must have been absolutely unbearable to be in Pam's position at this point in time, because this kind of thing is something that is going to have an impact for the rest of this person's life.
To suddenly be told that he's been arrested, actually now he's the prime suspect in a series of 5 murders of prostitutes, to actually you can't go home, you can't get your stuff, you can't get your clothes, you can't get anything, never again. You know, that is layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of shock, of shame.
Pam had been totally blindsided by Steve's arrest. And several hours earlier, when police swooped on his house, Wright himself was also apparently caught off guard.
When Steve Wright was arrested, he literally fell to the ground. His knees kind of buckled underneath him.
It's a possibility that he was overcome and overwhelmed with the emotion of the moment.
I think that it's a bit of a performance. We see this with a lot of serial killers. They're very good actors, and they're very good at doing this kind of thing, at making out that they are kind of infirm or ill in some way, because that buys them time. That buys them time to have a think about, what is it that I'm going to say when I'm asked these questions?
How will Wright try to explain himself when detectives do finally question him? And how will he try to explain himself to his partner, Pam?
When detectives get Steve Wright to the interview room and get him in there and they want to talk to him, of course, he is just clammed up.
You need to speak to us. You need to tell us what was going through your mind at the time.
He is almost zombie-esque. He is not responding to anything.
This is your earliest opportunity to give an account. And that is significant because it makes a difference. No comment.
It's a very effective way of maintaining control over the narrative. Only I know what really happens. And that gives you a sense of power at a time when your options are becoming increasingly limited.
But eventually, after sustained questioning and police revealing they have DNA linking him to the women, Wright decides to make a concession.
He does start making admissions, and those are, I knew these women, I frequented these women.
Wright admits to sleeping with all 5 victims, but far from supporting the case against him, this represents a major blow for the investigation.
He admits that he knew the girls, that he had sex with the girls, so it won't be surprising if his DNA was found on the victims. It's like a built-in get-out-of-jail-free card. You can pin me to these girls, but you can't prove I killed them.
Convinced of Wright's guilt, detectives turn back to evidence already collected during the investigation. Police re-examine the CCTV footage of Tanya Nichols, the very first victim, getting into a car the night she went missing. Could this vehicle now be connected to Steve Wright?
We were able to bring in technicians from SO15, the Counter-Terrorist Command at Scotland Yard, who are specialists in CCTV.
So there are certain telltale signs on the car, air fresheners, decals, the shape of the car, that kind of thing that we can make comparisons with.
Putting all of those things together, we were able to look at that and with some confidence say that was Steve Wright's vehicle.
Identifying Wright's car is a major breakthrough, putting Steve and Tanya together the night she disappeared. But further CCTV inquiries from the night of Gemma Adams' disappearance would reveal even more.
The automatic number plate recognition system showed Steve Wright's car going out of Ipswich, and he's seen inside the vehicle wearing a fluorescent jacket. That fluorescent jacket was very significant to the investigation.
The fluorescent jacket is seized from Wright's home, and when investigators perform forensic analysis on it, they discover something chilling.
The fluorescent jacket that he had blood stains on, and we were able to, from that, identify DNA evidence which linked him very clearly to the murders.
With several small specks of the victim's blood found on the jacket, police finally charged Steve Wright with all 5 murders. For Ipswich, it appears that the nightmare reign of the Suffolk Strangler has finally come to an end. But for Pam Wright, the nightmare has only just begun.
When Steve Wright was arrested and it was discovered that he had a partner, a lot of attention was turned on her.
I was constantly looking over my shoulder. Every time I went out the door, my eyes were looking round. I was terrified.
On December 21st, 2006, Steve Wright is charged with the murder of 5 women in Ipswich, England. Wright denies the murders, but a wealth of forensic evidence and CCTV footage links him to the crimes. But when police question Wright's partner, Pam, it becomes clear that she is struggling to accept their conclusions.
They told me about the 5 girls. Well, I just, no way. Couldn't believe it. I really could not believe it. Because Steve was very, very fussy about things. And I thought, well, I'd seen these girls on the street. No, there's no way he would have anything to do with those girls.
Pam is unable to come to terms with what she is hearing and unable to return home. But Ipswich is now filled with reporters looking for an exclusive story.
The breaking news this morning, a person has been arrested by detectives here in Suffolk who are investigating the murders of 5 women.
Somewhere around the red light district in Ipswich.
Soon the media turns its focus on Pam.
When Steve Wright was arrested and it was discovered that he had a partner, a lot of attention was turned on her.
Unable to return home, Pam seeks sanctuary with a friend who runs a local pub.
I walked into her pub and it was absolutely heaving with people. She saw me and I said, "What's all that? I've never seen it so busy." She said, "It's reporters, Pam, they're looking for you."
When it was discovered that she was the partner of the most notorious serial killer in that time, I mean, the ability for her to ground herself, to feel stable, to feel secure, to feel present, to feel protected and safe, that would all have been stripped away from her.
I couldn't even go out to post a letter. I was terrified. The reporters were always trying to contact me. I was constantly looking over my shoulder. Every time I went out the door, my eyes were looking round. That was the start of my lockdown, my remand, if you like.
Trying to make sense of what has happened, Pam hides herself away. She knows there are only 2 possibilities. Either Steve is facing a gross miscarriage of justice, or she has been sharing her life with a serial killer.
I just didn't want to wake up. I drank ridiculously, and I was on antidepressants. Yeah, anything, just to go to sleep, not to think about it. I didn't know how to deal with it. I said, I want my son back. I want my son here. I want Jamie home.
On hearing of Steve's arrest, Jamie Goodman immediately returns from France to be with Pam. But he hadn't anticipated the severe impact this was having on his mother.
I arrived back in Ipswich and I found my mum in bed with a bottle of brandy and a bottle of sleeping pills. Hysterically crying and in shock, in shock.
But Pam began to use alcohol and prescription medication to manage her emotions, to help her to tolerate that distress. In many ways, it's not surprising. You get some respite from the constant mental turmoil and the constant mental trauma.
She was in shock. She was in bed for about a week, just taking medication, just in a dark room. I kept taking her food, taking her drinks. And there was a lot of reporters from a lot of different newspapers all over the street. You know, all wanted a piece of my mum, all wanted a piece of the story. Whereas my concern was her health, where she was going to live. You know, it's not her fault. I think blame was a massive issue, you know. I mean, she didn't know the guy was a nutcase. But I like to think I'm a good judge of character, but I had no idea. You know, I had no idea.
But Jamie soon discovers that it is not only his mother whose life will be impacted by Steve's arrest. Shortly after his return to Ipswich, Jamie himself is contacted by police.
I was taken in to the police station for questioning, and that's when I realised, you know, I could be a possible suspect because of my connections to Steve. I've been in his car, I've been in the house, and they found DNA in the house and the car. Yeah, it was a frightening situation, I'm not going to lie. You know, I was pretty scared.
Although Jamie assumed cleared of any involvement, during his interviews, police have shared with him key details. And the case against Wright now makes complete sense to Jamie.
I mean, the police found DNA. I mean, what else do you need to know someone's committed a crime? He was the sort of guy, you know, who keeps a lot of secrets. And I think that's why I wasn't surprised.
As the realization he's been staying in the same house as the infamous Suffolk Strangler sinks in, the biggest challenge Jamie now faces is convincing his mother of the truth. Pam finds it impossible to believe that the man she loved would visit prostitutes at all, let alone kill them.
Jamie said to me that they'd found Steve's DNA on these girls, 3 of them, and I said, oh, my God, Jamie. Jamie said, Mum, you've got to face it. I said, no. I said, no. I said, I'm not. I said, I know he wouldn't do that. I don't believe it. I do not believe it. I was in denial, do you know what I mean? I was totally in denial.
For Pam, there is only one person who can provide her with the answers she needs. But that person, Steve Wright, is sitting in jail awaiting trial. Following a horrific killing spree that resulted in the deaths of 5 sex workers in Ipswich in December 2006, police have identified Steve Wright as the Suffolk Strangler and have charged him with all 5 murders. But his partner Pam is struggling to accept that the man she loved would even visit prostitutes. Could Steve Wright convince her the police have got it wrong?
It was a long time before Steve got in touch. 10 days later, he called me. When I received that phone call, I was just relieved. Thought, well, at least he's well and he's, you know, but it was so upsetting, so upsetting. I said, look, stop lying to me, please. I need to find out. He took a deep breath. And when Steve finally admitted that he'd been with these prostitutes, he said, I'm really sorry. He said, but I didn't kill them. I didn't kill them.
Wright insists he is innocent, and Pam begins visiting him in jail. But all her son Jamie sees is Steve Wright continuing to manipulate a final, vulnerable victim.
It was making me sick, because he's writing all these lovey-dovey letters from jail on remand, saying he loves her, he'd never do anything to hurt her. I just think it was desperation. My mum was in denial, she was in disbelief.
And Pam now seems to believe Wright's claims of innocence.
I was angry, you know, at her for a long time, because I thought she was being stupid, staying with the guy. But I think the fact that he wasn't a violent person, Steve wasn't a violent person, that's contributed a lot to her being in denial, because she never saw that side to him.
Many people say to me, well, why didn't he kill his partner? Well, that's because his partner served a purpose. She was useful to him. He's effectively been able to compartmentalise his life in relation to these murders. He has his partner at home, and then he's going out and he's killing sex workers on the side.
Pam remains in contact with Steve for the following 12 months, until, on January 16, 2008, Wright finally goes on trial. But will he be able to convince a jury of his innocence the way he has convinced Pam?
Myself and fellow members of the media were utterly convinced that he was guilty of all 5 killings. But no matter how convinced you are, there's always an element of doubt.
In the courtroom, Wright sticks to his story that he slept with the women but did not kill them.
I think this is testament to the brazenness of this serial killer, the arrogance of him. He really does think that he's going to get away with this.
But there is a last-minute addition to the prosecution's case. Forensics found one last undeniable piece of evidence, a fiber in the most unlikely of places.
There's an ironic sense of justice in that the first victim, Tanya, the one who was submerged for 5 weeks before they found her, the one who was least likely to turn up any forensic evidence that would connect her to the killer, hers was the linchpin that solved the case.
Despite the body being submerged for 5.5 weeks, forensics discovered a carpet fiber embedded deep in Tanya Nichols's hair, originating from the footwell of Steve Wright's car.
The way that the forensic scientists were able to interpret this evidence was incredibly damning for Steve Wright.
The fiber is solid evidence of blunt force trauma. The only way it could have been embedded in Tanya's hair was through an act of violence taking place inside Steve Wright's car. Have police finally obtained even more forensic evidence which will make their case against Wright irrefutable? Or is there still a chance Steve Wright could walk free?
The great unknown is, what is a jury going to do? You never know what a jury is going to do.
After one of Britain's largest ever manhunts, the true identity of the Suffolk Strangler has been revealed. Police have built a damning case against Steve Wright. But will the jury be willing to convict him of all 5 brutal murders?
It's very, very difficult to achieve a conviction in a murder case, given the standard of proof, given that you have to prove everything beyond reasonable doubt, and that a large number of that jury have to agree that this is what's happened.
But after 8 hours deliberating, the jury returns and finds Steve Wright guilty on all 5 counts.
The drop of blood, the fibers, the fluorescent jacket, the car, and then this last piece of trace evidence, done.
On February 22, 2008, Steve Wright is sentenced to life imprisonment for the 5 brutal murders of Gemma Adams, Tanya Nicol, Annalee Alderton, Annette Nichols, and Paula Clennell. But what had led this seemingly mundane man to go on a horrific killing spree? And how could there have been no sign of what he was capable of? Was his trick simply to hide in plain sight?
Whenever I'm asked about what I think is unique or distinct or interesting about the serial killers that I've studied, I'd say, well, actually, there's nothing interesting about them at all. You know, these people are quite dull, actually. They're not really worth our time. And I think if we should be commemorating anybody, it should be the victims in this case.
But for the victims' families, because Wright refuses to admit to his crimes, they can only ever guess as to why their loved ones were killed.
The real tragedy is that even though Steven Wright's been convicted, he still is exerting his power and control.
He has continued to maintain his innocence, to deny that he had anything to do with it. And I think that is just a very effective way of him exercising control, of maintaining that story.
In the absence of any concrete answers, the media continued to search for a motive, some even speculating on what Pam could or should have known.
People are always wanting to understand why, and often the reason of because this person is a bad person doesn't feel very satisfactory.
People say, well, she must have known what he was doing. I'd know if it was done in my house. It's unkind and it's hurtful because I had no idea what he was doing.
There is often a desire in the public or in the media or both to vilify secondary victims of crime. And I say secondary victim because Pam was a secondary victim of Steve.
But one reason for the continued media interest in Pam is the fact that she remains unwilling to publicly acknowledge Steve's guilt. Despite his conviction, for more than a year, Pam maintains contact with Wright, pushing her relationship with Jamie to a breaking point.
Me and my mum, we nearly parted. I mean, she nearly lost me for the situation. I didn't give her an ultimatum, but I said, look, you need to wake up.
With her relationship with Jamie at stake, Pam finally agrees to walk away and never speak to Steve Wright again.
It wasn't easy to say goodbye to Steve, but I had to stop it. Jamie, it was affecting him, obviously, and it was affecting me. But it still was very, very hard.
14 years after the horrific events of December 2006, Jamie and Pam now live in Devon, in the southwest of England, hundreds of miles from Ipswich.
It was such a relief to get away from the people that had my home number and my mobile number, and just to be free.
I mean, she's a lot happier. She's still not well. And she still has nightmares. But in herself, her mental state's a lot better. I think if she accepted it, I think in the long run, she'd be happier. She's got to live with it for the rest of her life.
It's with you morning and night, every day of your life. And I can never see that going away, ever. As I say, this is my life sentence. I will never know the truth of any of it. I do honestly think there's a lot more to the story. I think Steve has been using prostitutes for a long time. But I don't think I've ever thought that he was capable of killing someone. I still believe that Steve is not guilty.
Often the families of people convicted of very serious crimes like murder and multiple murder have a really difficult time coming to terms with the fact that their relative is guilty of the crime. You have this individual in your life who is a partner. That is the role in which you see him. But now the world sees him as a murderer.
I've got no doubt in my mind. But I think she chooses not to believe it. How you doing, all right? You well?
Oh, good.
Good, sir.
Love you.
Love you too. Might be able to go get another drink. She's in denial, I think, about what actually happened. But if that makes her feel better, I'm not going to force her to believe what I believe. But you love it here, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. And living where I live.
She was in love with the guy, you know, so it's very difficult for her to accept it. I think she feels she made a mistake, but you know, there's nothing she can do about it. You've got to move forward.
Still curious? Join the Curious Collective for just £1.99 a month. No tiers, no locked content, just full access. You'll get exclusive documentaries, ad-free members-only videos, early access, custom badges, emojis, and member discounts. Hit join below and become part of the investigation. Before you go, I want to give a special thank you to the members of the Curious Collective. Your support helps keep Dead Curious growing and allows me to bring more documentaries, more investigations, and more mysteries. Thank you for being part of the collective.